Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us in our presentation, Introducing Italy, Bologna, Florence, and Rome. We are explorers, bibliophiles, and librarians. My name is Holly, and I'm an adult services librarian at the Westmont Public Library.
And my name is Elizabeth. I'm a youth services librarian at the Westmont Public Library. And we traveled to Italy as part of our master's program to attend the International Children's Book Fair. We were able to visit many cities outside of Bologna during and after the conference. And in this presentation, we are going to talk about Bologna, Florence, and Rome. All of the pictures are from our travels. We hope you enjoy as we start with Bologna. This city was founded in the 6th century BCE. There's a lot of history in Bologna, from Roman ruins to medieval architecture to the Renaissance and to modern day Italy. This city is located in northern Italy in the Emilia-Romagna region. This region is known for its food, whether it's the cheese or the prosciutto from Parma. There is so much to try and to eat and to explore. It is also the site of the International Children's Book Fair of Bologna. And the city is really different because 40% of the town was lost during World War II. The next slide has some pictures to give you a sense of the city. You can see some of the covered walkways, a plaza. There are many plazas throughout the city, as well as pops of color. All of the city's history is mixed together, and Bologna has some amazing landmarks. The whole city is filled with history. You can wander and explore the architecture and art of the Renaissance in the churches, stumble upon old buildings on medieval streets, and walk under the iconic porticos of the city. Part of its medieval past is Bologna's 2 towers. These were built in the 13th century. They are 2 of the remaining towers in the city. There's approximately 15 left of the 180 that were originally built during the medieval ages and were scattered around the city for defense. The taller of the towers is the only one open to the public. You can climb over 450 stairs to see a sweeping view of the city. I do suggest you brave this at your own risk. The stairs are steep and narrow, and it is an adventure in itself. After visiting the architecture, the medieval architecture of the towers, we can travel to the Basilica di San Petronio, which is a medieval church. It was founded in 1390. Around the church, a piazza popped up, and there are cafes and shops. The church was founded by the town, but lost funding. So half of it is made out of marble and half is brick. And so it has a very distinct look in the piazza. It is home to unique art and architecture, as well as the remains of the city's patron saint, Saint Petronius, which gives the basilica its name. An iconic monument of the city. You can shop, eat, and I remember one night where I was able to stop late at night, enjoy a late night snack, and just marvel at all of the lamplight and nightlife in the city as it passed by the basilica. Outside of the iconic landmarks, the city is full of art. Medieval frescoes, Renaissance art, and street art all mixes in this unique urban city. It's a college town, and you can see that. Now, whether you explore Bologna's art in the National Gallery or you visit the churches and chapels around the city to look at the Renaissance art and the medieval frescoes, you can find art everywhere. It fills the streets on columns and walls and more, reminding us that this is a changing urban center. I loved the frescoes. They were so beautiful and detailed. You could see that they were doing restoration work. So hopefully they'll stay with us much longer. The unique sculpture and stone carvings in the churches was just amazing. There's just so much history to discover. There's churches around every corner. And like I said, they're filled with paintings and statues. They really capture the eye. It's just so much history. After visiting landmarks, you definitely need to head out to a cafe to enjoy what Bologna is known for, its food. My policy when visiting Italy is to snack often. Through the winding medieval streets, there are artisanal shops, bakeries, restaurants, all tucked amid historic buildings and modern ones in this college town. It is just, there's so much to eat, and you really have to stop and just sample all of the local delicacies. One of the favorites is gelato. Now, my first taste of Italy after 10 hours of travel was gelato. The Castiglione, the gelato shop on Castiglione, is known for its unique gelato flavors, like the Michelangelo, which was a creamy blend of macaroons, caramelized almonds, and cocoa. But there are gelato shops around the city. So you'll really need to stop and find your own gem and your own favorite scoop of gelato. Bologna is also known for its pasta. Now, one of the most memorable meals was dinner at this little restaurant. They made their own limoncello, which is a liqueur that's known in Italy. It's lemon flavored and it was fantastic. It is also home of bolognese sauce, but to the locals, it's known as tagliatelle al ragu. So it's not made with spaghetti, but a wider noodle, and it is out of this world. It's fantastic. You have to eat pasta when you're in Italy. There are so many phenomenal restaurants. It's really up to you to explore the city. You need to find your own hidden gems, whether you're going to a deli or to a market and sampling a sandwich. You can even get a glass of wine at some of the marketplaces and fill a plate full of seasonal sandwiches and tiny bites. It's really wonderful to just explore and find your own favorite places in the city as you wander the streets. Now we'll have to move on to Florence, another amazing city in Italy.
So just a little bit of information about Florence. It was founded in the 1st century BCE by the Romans. It is known as Firenze in Italy. It is located in Italy's Tuscany region. It was once home to cultural greats like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Galileo, and now museums there house their works. Some of them even house their tombs. And it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So some of the Florence landmarks. Florence is a tourist town. The bustle of tour groups, locals, and more fills the old streets, while street performers fill the air with music. The city is filled with history, from its famous museums to its imposing medieval and Renaissance architecture. So we decided to take a day trip to Florence. There were 4 of us who went, and we each wanted to do or see one thing while we were there. We didn't really make any concrete plans. We just bought our train tickets and went, and we knew the 4 places that we wanted to visit. It didn't really matter to us what we saw first or where we went, so we really just decided to see where the day was going to take us. And one of those places that it took us was the Cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore.
So this cathedral, you really do need to plan ahead for in order to visit the interior. You can see in that picture the long, long line. We'll visit this place a little later in the presentation, but the cathedral was started in 1296 and was finally completed in 1463. It's known locally as the Duomo, and it's filled with religious frescoes and sculptures. And the biggest fresco is by Vasari, and it is the Last Judgment, which was finished in 1579 by an apprentice. You can see just around the entire building is this white and green marble, which gives it its very distinct look. There's also statues and artwork on each of the doors and windows. So even if you don't get to see the inside, it's really amazing to marvel at all of the architecture on the building. Around the cathedral is the Piazza del Duomo, and it circles the cathedral. It's amazing. The baptistry is there, as well as a tower that's part of the cathedral. Around the Duomo, the cafes are scattered along the piazza with shops and places to stop and get coffee. And you can just marvel at the beauty of Florence. You can see the bustling crowds of tourists and locals as they move through the piazza. It was just wonderful. And these pictures were taken on a clear, sunny blue day, and it made everything just pop and sparkle. And from the cathedral, you can head to the Santa Croce Basilica. So you can head to the Basilica. It was built in the 13th century. The church is filled with the tombs of Italy's most famous artists, writers, astronomers, and more. There's really so much to see. There's artwork and statuary and the tombs. Now, Italy's most famous dead are buried here. Individuals like Galileo, Charlotte Bonaparte, and Dante, the writer of the Divine Comedies, or also Dante's Inferno, the last of the comedy. From here, head to the river to enjoy another view of this iconic city.
So from here, we went to the Ponte Vecchio, and Ponte Vecchio means old bridge in Italian, and it is a medieval bridge that spans the Arno River, and it's known for its shops, including jewelers and art dealers. And crossing the bridge was really neat, especially realizing how old it is. So the current bridge was actually built in 1345 after a flood had destroyed the original one. And originally, it was home to butchers, tanners, and farmers, but now in current day, it's filled with jewelers, art dealers, and a bunch of different souvenir shops. So another place that we visited was the Accademia Gallery. So it's known as the Galleria dell'Accademia. And this museum is home to the art and history of Italy. So many of Michelangelo's sculptures can be found in the gallery, including his most famous, which is the David. And we have some pictures of that on the next slide. So you can see the David statue from a distance, and you can also see a sign that was painted on an outside wall telling you where to go. So we actually happened to be in Florence on the first Sunday of the month, and we didn't know that admission into the museum was actually free that day. So it was definitely a very pleasant surprise that we were able to see this masterpiece when we gladly would have paid to see it. And next up, we're going to talk about some food. We can't forget the food.
Yes. So Florence, like Bologna and like Rome, is known for its food. you need to find a cafe with a view. And like I said before, we found a cafe right in the Piazza del Duomo. So it was wonderful to just stare at this amazing building and sample all of the foods that Italy is known for. We ordered pizza and bread and cheese with prosciutto and pasta and a cheese plate. And we just were able to eat lots of different things and enjoy the architecture and the street performers and just watch the tourist groups and locals as they passed by. It really gave us a sense of the city, the history, and just, how much of an urban center this is, despite being surrounded by medieval history and the Renaissance. It was just amazing. And the day was beautiful. And finally, you have to end with dessert. So grabbing tiramisu or gelato and having a cup of coffee really lets you enjoy the day. And I think we found, from our trip to Florence and just being in Bologna and Holly later in Rome, that you really need to take it slow and really enjoy the city. So stopping at a cafe, having something sweet or savory and a cup of coffee really lets you feel the city. You really get to feel the history and, observe the locals as they go about their day and really become part of the city and the environment. And it was just fantastic. And so I really thought that just taking it easy and, making sure you see some of the history, but pacing it so that you could really enjoy the food. And now on to Rome, the largest of the 3 cities we visited.
Okay, so just a little bit of information about Rome. It is the capital of Italy, and it's also known as the Eternal City, and it was the capital of the ancient Roman Republic. So it is known for its ancient monuments and connections to the Roman Catholic Church. It's filled with artistic treasures and masterpieces, and you can really see them everywhere you go. It's almost hard to miss them, even though it's not hard to miss them. So that there's certain monuments there, and you almost forget that they're there because they're everywhere. There's so many of them. And alfresco dining is one of Rome's greatest pleasures. So I'm going to talk about some of the Rome landmarks. Wherever you go in Rome, you are sure to stumble upon history, from the ruins of the Roman Forum, which were believed to be in use starting around 500 BC, to the more so-called modern Trevi fountain, which was constructed over 2,200 years later. There is something to see for everyone. And you'll see the sign. I like to call these the core 4. These are kind of the landmarks that everyone really wants to see and really has to see when they go to Rome. So we will start with the Spanish Steps, which is a steep stairway of 135 steps leading up to the Trinita dei Monti Church. They have always been a popular spot for tourists as well as artists, painters, and poets. Although it didn't take more than a few minutes to get to the top, it's definitely a good idea to have a bottle of water with you. You'll definitely want to drink that once you get to the top. You do get a little worn out after those 135 steps. But you also, looking down, you get a breathtaking view of the Piazza di Spagna, which is just down below. So up next is the Trevi Fountain, and you are definitely going to want to bring a coin with you when you go. So this was one of the most tightly crowded places, I would say, that I visited. And it was nearly impossible to get a picture of the full monument without getting anyone else in the picture. So it was just a little bit difficult. I wanted to try and capture it. So I did the best I could. So the reason that you want to bring a coin is because, according to legend, you will make a wish if you throw the coin over your left shoulder with your right hand. it is said that you will return to Rome one day. So I'm hoping that's true because I really would love to go back and visit again. So next, we are on to the Pantheon, which is a former Roman temple, now a Catholic church. And it is the best preserved building from ancient Rome. It is believed to be finished around the year 125, and it was finished during Hadrian's reign. The current structure is actually the third built Pantheon that was on this site. The first two buildings burnt down. So these are just some of the photos from the inside and outside, kind of around the corner of the building. And personally, this was my absolute favorite place to visit. It just gave me such a sense of amazement when I went there. You round the corner and just out of nowhere, this solid old building just appears out of nowhere. And it was just such an amazing feeling. It's really hard to describe, but I really could have spent literally every single day there and I would have been happy with it. I found constant ways to make my way back to the Piazza della Rotonda, in which it was located. So whenever we went exploring somewhere else for the day, I would always say, hey, how about we round the corner this way so that we can go see the Pantheon again? And luckily, everyone was okay with it because I did it often. So next, I'm going to talk about the Colosseum, and it is listed as one of the new 7 wonders of the world. It's an amphitheater that was built between 70 and 80 and can hold up to 80,000 spectators. They usually got an average of about 65,000 people. So many things occurred there, like gladiator fights, battle reenactments, different dramas, even public executions. And actually in 2018, it was the most popular tourist attraction in the world, bringing in 7.4 million visitors. So let's go to the inside of the Colosseum for a little bit. So you can see what it looked like under the floor here. You can see the different tunnels and different doorways that gladiators made their way through. You can also see ruins of signs and statues that are all over, and you can get right up close to them and you can actually touch them. And then you'll see on the far right picture, it's 2 different versions of stairs. So you'll see the older stairs, it's blocked off. The older stairs are definitely worn down and deteriorated from time and use. But you can also see that they've been restored so people can get a little bit closer, but that was just stairs that went to even more seating. So next, I'll talk about St. Peter's Basilica. So I did spend the day in Vatican City, and you can spend the day there and you really don't even touch the surface. And so this is another example of one of the monuments that I missed. So I knew that the Pieta was in the Basilica, and I just completely forgot about it because there's so many other millions of works of art to see. So there are plenty of amazing artworks housed here. But what I'm going to focus on is climbing to the top of the Basilica. And so this is just the panorama of the outside. So let's go to the inside. So there's actually 2 parts to get to the top of the dome, and the dome is actually a work of Michelangelo. So the first part is you're going to go up 231 stairs, or you can take an elevator to get inside. And so you'll see those stairs on the left-hand picture. Once you get up those 231 stairs, the middle picture is the inside of the church. So you're inside of the dome overlooking the inside. So then at that point, you're going to be at roof level. And the second part takes you up an additional 320 steps to the very top. And so that picture on the right-hand side is just some of those steps. And those are probably the least scary of the steps that we took to get to the top. Now, I never thought that I was claustrophobic, but it was definitely a struggle. So you go single file, And you're going up very narrow staircases. You're going up spiraling staircases. There's one point where you have to hold a rope to get up the staircase. And the whole time while you're going up, the roof eventually starts to slant because, of course, it is a dome. However, as scary as it was so worth it once you get to the top. It kind of feels like you're looking out at the top of the world. You're just looking across the entire city of Rome on top of the Basilica, and you can see the statues that are at the roof level of the apostles. And it's just such an amazing sight. And I know it's really hard to see, but you actually can. It's towards the right-hand side. You can see a domed building out in the crowd of buildings, and that is my favorite, the Pantheon. So like we've discussed several times before, you cannot get out of Italy without eating amazing food, and Rome is no exception. So a plate of pasta was always the perfect way to end a jam-packed day of sightseeing. And so on the left-hand side is truffle gnocchi, and you can never go wrong with a truffle sauce. And then on the right-hand side is the cacio e pepe, which the Romans are known for. And I can hands down say this was one of the top 3 best meals of my entire life. It's a simple plate of spaghetti, cheese, and pepper. I don't know what they do, but it is amazing. The Romans definitely know what they're doing when it comes to dining.
Arrivederci. Thank you so much for joining us for our presentation today. I hope you found Italy as fascinating and interesting as Holly and I did. We hope that our presentation sparked your imagination and your need to wander and find adventure. So we hope you enjoyed our Italian adventure and you maybe plan one of your own. If you have additional questions, you can reach out to us.
So my email address is there. It's just hhavliceek@westmontlibrary.org. So if you have any questions about any of the pictures we took or any of the places we saw, definitely feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to share any of that information with you.
Thank you, everyone, and we hope to see you in the library soon.
Bye. Thank you.